The silence aboard the USS Novice was different from the usual hum of deep space travel. It carried the weight of anticipation of final examinations and futures hanging in the balance. Cadet Lara Kincaid pressed her palm against the cool metal of the observation deck's viewport, watching the stars blur past as the training vessel cut through the outer rim of Zoraxian space. "Nervous?" asked Cadet Marcus Webb, settling beside her with 2 cups of synthesized coffee. Lara accepted the cup with a grateful nod. "About the practical exam, not really. About what comes after." She let the words hang in the recycled air between them. The USS Novice was home to 43 cadets in their final semester at Earth Space Academy, each one representing years of rigorous academic training in everything from quantum engineering to xenobiology. But academic knowledge was one thing. Real experience in the vast, unforgiving expanse of space was another entirely. "Captain Harris says we'll be running standard reconnaissance drills." Webb continued his voice, carrying the forced casualness of someone trying to convince himself as much as his companion. "Nothing too challenging for our final practical assessment." Lara smiled wryly. "When has anything involving the Zoraxians ever been standard?" The Zoraxian Empire and the Earth Alliance had maintained an uneasy peace for the better part of a decade, but tensions simmered just beneath the surface of diplomatic niceties. The Zoraxians were a proud warrior culture, their technology centuries ahead of human innovation in many areas. Their orbital fortresses and battle stations dotted the galaxy like sleeping giants, each one a testament to their military supremacy. The intercom crackled to life, interrupting her thoughts. "All cadets to stations. We're approaching Sector Z-47. This is not a drill." Lara and Webb exchanged glances before hurrying to the command deck. The USS Novice might have been a training vessel, but it was still equipped with state-of-the-art sensors and defensive systems. As they took their positions at their respective workstations, the main view screen flickered to life. Sector Z-47 stretched before them, a seemingly empty expanse of space punctuated by the occasional asteroid and distant star. But their sensors told a different story. "Contact bearing 27 Mark IV, reported Cadet Sarah Kim from the sensor station. It's massive, Captain." Captain Elena Harris, a veteran officer with silver threading through her dark hair, leaned forward in the command chair. "On screen." The view screen shimmered, and suddenly they were staring at a Zoraxian orbital base. The structure was enormous, easily 3 times the size of the Novice, its hull, bristling with weapon arrays and sensor dishes. But something was wrong. The base hung motionless in space, its running lights dim, no signs of active patrol craft. "Looks abandoned," Webb whispered from his position at the communications array. "Appearances can be deceiving," Captain Harris replied, her voice tight with concern. "Full sensor sweep. I want to know everything about that installation." Lara's fingers flew over her tactical engineering console, cross-referencing the sensor readings with known Zoraxian base configurations. Her specialty in tactical engineering had earned her top marks at the Academy, but theoretical knowledge felt suddenly inadequate when faced with the real thing. "Captain," she called out, her voice steady, despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "The base appears to be in minimal power mode, but I'm detecting automated defense grids. They're dormant, but functional." "Any signs of life?" "Scanning now." Kim's fingers danced across her console. "I'm reading. Wait. There are definitely life signs aboard. Approximately 30 individuals concentrated in what appears to be the command section." Captain Harris nodded grimly. "Recommendations?" The question hung in the air like a challenge. This was their final exam, after all. The decisions they made here would determine not just their grades, but their futures as officers in the Earth Alliance Space Force. Before anyone could respond, the communications array crackled to life. The voice that emerged was deep, authoritative, and spoke in accented but fluent English. "Human vessel, this is Admiral Keth Thrax of the Zoraxian Empire. You have entered restricted space. Lower your shields and prepare to be boarded for educational purposes." A collective intake of breath swept the bridge. Admiral Thrax was a name every cadet knew from their xenopolitics courses. He was a decorated Zoraxian commander, known for his tactical brilliance and his particular interest in studying human military capabilities. Captain Harris's knuckles whitened as she gripped the arms of her command chair. "This is Captain Elena Harris of the Earth Alliance training vessel USS Novice. We are conducting authorized training exercises in neutral space." Neutral space. The Admiral's laugh carried an edge of mockery. "You are 3 light minutes inside the Zoraxian security perimeter. But do not concern yourself with territorial disputes, Captain. Consider this a unique learning opportunity. Your cadets will serve as excellent specimens for our tactical analysis." The word specimens sent a chill through the bridge crew. Lara felt her stomach clench as she realized the implications. They weren't just facing a final exam anymore. They were facing potential captivity. Their training vessel turned into a laboratory for Zoraxian military research. "Captain," Cadet Torres spoke up from the security station, his voice barely above a whisper. "Standing orders for training vessels encountering hostile forces is to withdraw immediately and alert the nearest Alliance base." Captain Harris nodded, but her expression remained troubled. "The nearest Alliance base is 6 hours away at maximum warp. That base could intercept us long before we clear Zoraxian space." "Then we surrender," Webb said, his voice hollow. "We follow protocol and hope for the best." But Lara was studying her tactical display, her mind racing through possibilities. The Zoraxian base was massive and well-armed, but it was also operating on minimal power. More importantly, it appeared to be largely automated. 30 crew members for a station that size meant they were probably running a skeleton crew. "Captain," she said slowly, "what if we don't withdraw?" Every head on the bridge turned toward her. Captain Harris raised an eyebrow. "Elaborate, Cadet." Lara stood, her hands clasped behind her back in parade rest position, but her mind was anything but still. "The base is operating on reduced power, suggesting minimal crew. They're confident enough to reveal their position and make demands, which implies they believe their automated defenses are sufficient deterrent. But automated systems have weaknesses. You're suggesting we attack a Zoraxian military installation?" Webb's voice pitched higher with disbelief. "I'm suggesting we consider our options," Lara replied evenly. "Our mission parameters include adapting to unexpected situations and demonstrating tactical flexibility." Captain Harris was quiet for a long moment, her gaze fixed on the view screen where the Zoraxian base continued to hang in space like a metallic predator. "What do you have in mind, Cadet Kincaid?" Lara moved to the main tactical display, her fingers calling up schematics of typical Zoraxian base configurations. The base's automated defenses rely on an integrated shield matrix, powered by a central fusion reactor. If we could generate a focused electromagnetic pulse at the right frequency, we might be able to disrupt the shield harmonics long enough to create a window of vulnerability. "And then what?" Torres asked. "We're a training vessel. We don't have military-grade weapons." "No, but we have something better," Lara replied, a smile tugging at the corner of her mouth. "We have engineering cadets who've spent 4 years learning how to jury-rig solutions from whatever's available." Lieutenant Commander Sarah Venn, the Novice's chief engineering instructor, had been listening from her position near the engineering station. Now, she stepped forward, her expression thoughtful. "The ship's sensor array could theoretically be reconfigured to emit a focused electromagnetic pulse, but the power requirements would be enormous. We'd have to reroute energy from life support weapons, even propulsion. Leaving us completely vulnerable if the plan fails," Captain Harris pointed out. "Yes, ma'am," Lara admitted. "But if we surrender, we're vulnerable anyway. At least this way we have a chance to succeed." The bridge fell silent, except for the steady hum of ship systems. Through the view screen, the Zoraxian base seemed to grow larger, more menacing, as if sensing their hesitation. Finally, Captain Harris spoke. "Cadet Torres, what's your assessment of our defensive capabilities?" Torres straightened at his station. "Limited, Captain. We have standard deflector shields and a single phaser array, rated for training purposes only. Against a Zoraxian base, we'd last maybe 30 seconds in a direct confrontation. Then we don't engage in a direct confrontation, Lara said. We use surprise speed and their own overconfidence against them. Captain Harris studied the young cadet with new interest. Lara Kincaid had always been one of her more promising students, but academic excellence was different from the kind of tactical thinking required in real combat situations. Explain your full plan, Cadet. Lara took a deep breath, organizing her thoughts. First, we configure the sensor array for electromagnetic pulse emission, as Lieutenant Commander Venn suggested. But instead of targeting the entire shield matrix, we focus on the base's docking bay shields specifically. Zoraxian design philosophy prioritizes redundancy, so they'll have backup systems for critical areas, but docking bays are considered low priority. She moved to another section of the tactical display. While we're preparing the EMP, a small team infiltrates their automated defense drone storage. Most Zoraxian bases maintain a complement of security drones for internal patrol. If we can access their command codes and reprogram them, the drones attack their own crew. Webb finished, understanding dawning in his voice. Exactly. Create chaos and confusion while we breach the docking bay and board the station. Lieutenant Commander Venn was already running calculations on her engineering console. It could work, she said slowly. The power drain would be significant and we'd need to execute everything perfectly, but the physics check out. Captain Harris looked around the bridge at her crew of cadets, seeing determination mixed with fear in their young faces. These were students, not hardened veterans. But they were also the future of the Earth Alliance Space Force, and if there was ever a time to test their mettle, this was it. Very well, she said finally. We'll attempt Cadet Kincaid's plan. Lieutenant Commander Venn, begin modifications to the sensor array. Cadet Torres, select a team for the infiltration mission. And Cadet Kincaid. Yes, Captain. This is your plan. You'll coordinate the tactical execution. The next hour passed in a blur of activity. The USS Novice's corridors hummed with purpose as cadets scrambled to implement their desperate strategy. In the engineering section, Lieutenant Commander Venn worked alongside her students to jury-rig the sensor array, rerouting power conduits and recalibrating emitter frequencies. The theoretical output should be sufficient, reported Cadet Jennifer Martinez from her position at the power distribution console. But we'll only get one shot. After that, the array will need at least 6 hours to cool down and reset. Meanwhile, Cadet Torres assembled his infiltration team in the shuttle bay. The USS Novice carried 3 small shuttlecraft for training exercises, each equipped with basic stealth capabilities. Not enough to fool dedicated sensors, but perhaps sufficient to slip past automated systems focused on larger threats. Remember, Torres briefed his team of 6 volunteers. We're not trying to engage in combat. Get and access the drone command center, upload Kincaid's virus program, and get out. Simple in theory. And if we encounter Zoraxian crew members, asked Cadet Lisa Park, checking her equipment harness for the 3rd time. Avoid contact if possible. If not, Torres tapped the non-lethal stun weapons they'd been issued. We're still Academy cadets. We follow the rules of engagement. On the bridge, Lara stood at the central tactical console, her hands moving across holographic displays as she coordinated the various elements of their plan. The responsibility felt like a physical weight on her shoulders, but there was also an unexpected sense of clarity. All those years of theoretical study were finally being put to practical use. Cadet Kincaid, Captain Harris said quietly, moving to stand beside her. Second thoughts. Lara glanced at the view screen where the Zoraxian base continued its patient vigil. Every few seconds, Captain, but the alternatives haven't improved. Good answer, Harris smiled grimly. Doubt keeps you sharp. Overconfidence gets you killed. The communications array crackled again, Admiral Thrax's voice, carrying a note of impatience. Human vessel, you have exceeded the time limit for compliance. Prepare to receive boarding parties. Admiral, Captain Harris replied, activating the comm channel. We require additional time to prepare our crew for transport. Your crew will adapt to Zoraxian hospitality as best they are able. You have 5 minutes. The channel closed with a sharp click, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Status report, Lara called out. Sensor array modifications complete, Lieutenant Commander Venn reported. We're as ready as we're going to be. Infiltration team standing by in Shuttle Bay 2, Torres added. Navigation ready for evasive maneuvers. Webb confirmed from the helm. Lara nodded, feeling the weight of command settle around her like an ill-fitting uniform. Execute Phase 1. Launch the infiltration shuttle. On the view screen, a small dot separated from the USS Novice and began a circuitous approach toward the Zoraxian base. The shuttle's minimal engine signature and stealth coating should make it nearly invisible to passive sensors, but if the base went to active scanning— 2 minutes to optimal firing position, Webb reported. Lara watched the tactical display as the shuttle crept closer to the base's hull. Everything depended on timing now. Too early, and the Zoraxians would have time to adapt. Too late, and the shuttle team would be exposed when the shooting started. Admiral Thrax is hailing us again, Kim reported from communications. Ignore it, Lara said. Focus on the mission. The seconds crawled by with agonizing slowness. On the tactical display, the shuttle reached the base's hull and began searching for an access port. Zoraxian design favored function over security in maintenance areas, a weakness that human intelligence had noted but never exploited on this scale. Shuttle team has gained access, Torres reported through his comm badge. Beginning search for drone command center. Standing by, Lara acknowledged, then turned to Lieutenant Commander Venn. Sensor array status. Charged and ready. Target lock acquired on docking bay shield generators. The bridge held its collective breath. Through the view screen, the Zoraxian base seemed larger than ever, its weapon arrays slowly beginning to track toward their position. Admiral Thrax was clearly losing patience. Shuttle team, to Novice. Torres's voice crackled through the comm system. We've found the drone bay, but there's a problem. The command center is occupied. 2 Zoraxian technicians. Lara felt her heart sink. Their plan depended on accessing the drone systems without raising an alarm. If the technicians spotted the infiltration team— Can you bypass them? She asked. Negative. They're directly in front of the main access terminal. Captain Harris stepped forward. Abort the mission, Cadet Torres. Return to the ship. Wait, Lara said quickly. Torres, what about the secondary terminal's Zoraxian redundancy protocols require backup command access points? A pause. Scanning. Yes, I see 2 auxiliary terminals, but they're behind security barriers. Can you breach them? Give me 60 seconds. Lara looked at the tactical display. 60 seconds was a lifetime in combat, but they'd come too far to turn back now. Do it. On the view screen, the Zoraxian base's weapon arrays were definitely tracking their position now. Warning lights began flashing along the hull as automated systems prepared for combat. They're powering weapons, Kim reported, her voice tight with stress. 30 seconds, Torres's voice came through the comm. Electromagnetic pulse ready to fire, Lieutenant Commander Venn announced. Lara felt sweat beading on her forehead despite the bridge's cool air. Everything was happening too fast and too slow at the same time. The weight of 43 lives rested on decisions she was making with incomplete information and theoretical knowledge. 10 seconds, Torres reported. Fire the pulse, Lara ordered. The USS Novice shuddered as massive amounts of energy discharged through the modified sensor array. On the view screen, a brilliant blue-white beam lanced out toward the Zoraxian base, striking the docking bay shields in a spectacular display of energy discharge. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, section by section, the base's external lighting flickered and died as the electromagnetic pulse propagated through its systems. Direct hit, Venn reported triumphantly. Shield generators are offline. Torres report. We're in uploading the virus now. Upload complete, the drones are activating. Oh hell, they're targeting everything that moves, including us. Through the view screen, Lara could see small shapes erupting from the base's hull as security drones began their programmed patrol routes. But instead of maintaining defensive positions, they were heading directly for the base's command sections. "Get out of there, Torres." "Working on it. Park is injured, but we're mobile, heading for extraction point Alpha." The Zoraxian base was in chaos now. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows across its hull as automated systems struggled to respond to conflicting signals. The drones continued their attack pattern, targeting anything that registered as a potential threat, including their own command staff. "Incoming transmission from Admiral Thrax," Kim reported. "Put him through," Lara said. The Admiral's face appeared on the view screen, and for the first time, he looked less than completely composed. Behind him, the base's command center was bathed in red emergency lighting, and Lara could hear klaxons blaring in the background. "Human vessel." Thrax said, his voice tight with controlled fury. "Explain the meaning of this attack." "Admiral," Lara replied, surprised by the steadiness of her own voice. "We're simply adapting to unexpected circumstances, as you suggested." Thrax's eyes narrowed as he studied her face. "You are not Captain Harris." "Cadet Lara Kincaid, sir. I'm afraid Captain Harris is indisposed." Behind the Admiral, a security drone drifted past the command center's viewport, its weapon systems active and tracking. Thrax glanced over his shoulder, then back at the screen. "Impressive," he admitted grudgingly. "But ultimately futile. This base carries enough firepower to vaporize your training vessel 10 times over." "Yes, sir, under normal circumstances. But these aren't normal circumstances, are they?" As if to emphasize her point, another explosion echoed through the base's hull, and the lights flickered again. "Torres to Novice," came the urgent transmission. "We're at the extraction point, but Zoraxian security teams are converging on our position. We need that pickup now." Lara turned to Webb at the helm. "Take us in. Docking bay approach maximum speed." "That's suicide," Webb protested. "Even with the shields down, they still have point defense systems." "Not if the drones are keeping them busy," Lara replied. "Trust the plan." The USS Novice surged forward, its engines pushing the training vessel toward the massive Zoraxian base at velocities that would have triggered every safety protocol under normal circumstances. But these weren't normal circumstances. On the view screen, the base's docking bay grew larger with alarming speed. The USS Novice was never designed for high-speed docking maneuvers, and Lara found herself gripping the tactical console as the ship shuddered under the stress of rapid deceleration. "Shuttle team aboard," Torres reported as the rescue craft slipped into the Novice's bay. "Park needs medical attention, but we're all here." "Well done," Lara said, then turned her attention back to Admiral Thrax, whose image still dominated the main view screen. "Admiral, I believe it's time to discuss terms." Thrax studied her with new respect, his earlier arrogance replaced by professional interest. "Terms, Cadet? Your base is compromised, your security systems have been turned against you, and your crew is trapped in their command positions, while automated drones patrol the corridors. Meanwhile, we have a functioning starship with the ability to call for Alliance reinforcements. You would not dare risk a diplomatic incident by destroying this base." Lara smiled coldly. "You're right, Admiral. We won't destroy your base. We're going to capture it." The pronouncement sent a shockwave through both the Novice's bridge, and judging by Thrax's expression, the Zoraxian command center. Captain Harris stepped forward, her face pale with concern. "Cadet Kincaid, I think we should consider our options carefully." "With respect, Captain, our options are limited. We can't retreat with the shuttle team compromised, and we can't maintain this standoff indefinitely. The Admiral is right about their firepower advantage, but only if they can bring it to bear effectively." Lara turned back to the view screen. "Admiral Thrax, I'm prepared to offer you the opportunity to surrender your base with full military honors. Your crew will be treated according to Alliance protocols for prisoners of war, and you'll be repatriated through normal diplomatic channels." Thrax's laugh was sharp and bitter. "You expect me to surrender a Zoraxian military installation to a ship full of students?" I expect you to recognize reality, Admiral. Your base is crippled, your defenses are compromised, and your tactical situation is untenable. You can surrender now with dignity, or we can board your station and take it by force. Either way, the outcome is the same. For a long moment, silence filled the comm channel. In the background of the Zoraxian command center, Laura could see crew members working frantically at their stations, trying to regain control of their automated systems. But the virus Torres's team had uploaded was specifically designed to exploit Zoraxian command protocols, and it was proving remarkably effective. Captain Harris, Admiral Thrax said, finally his gaze shifting past Laura. Is this cadet speaking with your authority? Captain Harris was quiet for several seconds, her expression unreadable. Then she stepped forward to stand beside Laura at the tactical console. Admiral Thrax, I am placing the tactical command of this mission in the hands of Cadet Kincaid. Her plan, her responsibility, her authority. Laura felt a surge of gratitude mixed with terror. Captain Harris was effectively ending her own career by allowing a cadet to conduct military operations against a foreign power. But she was also demonstrating the kind of leadership that made the difference between good officers and great ones. Very well, Thrax said slowly. But understand, Cadet, that if you board this station, you will be committing an act of war against the Zoraxian Empire. No, sir, Lara replied. I'll be completing my final exam. The next 30 minutes were among the most intense of Lara's life. Working with Lieutenant Commander Venn and the engineering team, she coordinated the deployment of emergency docking clamps to secure the USS Novice to the Zoraxian base's compromised docking bay. Meanwhile, Torres organized boarding parties from the cadet complement, arming them with non-lethal weapons and emergency atmosphere suits. The base's internal defenses were in complete disarray. The reprogrammed security drones continued their patrol routes, effectively trapping most of the Zoraxian crew in heavily shielded command areas, while leaving the corridors clear for human infiltration. It was, Lara realized, with a mixture of pride and disbelief, working exactly as she'd planned. Boarding Party 1 has secured the main reactor control room. Torres reported through his comm badge. No resistance encountered. The automated systems are completely focused on internal threats. Boarding Party 2 has reached Auxiliary Command, added Cadet Park, despite her earlier injury. We've got 22 Zoraxian crew members secured in the secondary bridge. On the main view screen, Admiral Thrax watched the tactical display with growing resignation as human icons spread throughout his base like a slow-moving infection. Each section that fell to the cadets represented years of Zoraxian military investment and technological superiority, all undone by a training ship and a handful of students with more courage than sense. Remarkable, he said finally. Your tactical approach shows genuine innovation, Cadet Kincaid. Using our own systems against us, exploiting the very redundancy that was meant to protect us. It is almost worthy of a Zoraxian officer. Thank you, Admiral. That's quite a compliment coming from someone of your reputation. Indeed, but now comes the difficult part. Lara frowned. Sir, what do you intend to do with your prize? You have captured a Zoraxian military installation, but you lack the resources to hold it indefinitely. Your Alliance superiors will be forced to either support your actions, thereby risking war with the Empire, or disavow them, thereby sacrificing their own people for political expedience. The question hit Lara like a physical blow. In all her tactical planning, she'd focused on the immediate problem of survival and resistance. The broader political implications had been an abstract concern, something to worry about after they'd proven the mission could succeed. Now, staring at the reality of 43 human lives under her command and 30 Zoraxian prisoners in her custody, the weight of those implications settled on her shoulders like a leaden cloak. Captain Harris moved to stand beside her again. Admiral Thrax raises a valid point, Cadet. What are your intentions regarding the prisoners and the base itself? Lara looked around the bridge at the faces of her fellow cadets. Some showed excitement at their unexpected victory. Others displayed concern about the consequences. All of them were looking to her for answers she wasn't sure she possessed. "Permission to speak privately with Admiral Thrax, Captain." Harris nodded, and Lara requested a secure channel to the Zoraxian Command Center. Within moments, she found herself in direct communication with the enemy commander, their conversation encrypted and shielded from both crews. "Admiral," she began, "you're correct about the political complications. Neither of our governments wants a war right now, but they also can't appear weak in front of their citizens." "An astute observation. Do you have a proposal?" Lara took a deep breath. "What if this never happened?" Thrax raised an eyebrow. "Explain." "Your base suffered a systems malfunction that compromised its automated defenses. You were forced to accept assistance from a passing Alliance training vessel to restore order and prevent a catastrophic reactor overload. In gratitude for their help, you provided the cadets with a unique educational experience, allowing them to observe Zoraxian technology firsthand. And the damage to my base, the security breaches. Regrettable side effects of the malfunction. Your engineering staff will of course need several days to complete repairs and system upgrades. During that time, the USS Novice will remain on station to provide assistance and observation." Admiral Thrax was quiet for a long moment, his expression thoughtful. "You propose to transform a military defeat into a diplomatic success. I propose to give both our governments what they want, a resolution that doesn't require them to choose between honor and peace." "And what do you personally gain from this arrangement, Cadet Kincaid?" Lara smiled ruefully. "With luck, a passing grade on my final exam. More likely, a court-martial for exceeding my authority and risking diplomatic relations. Perhaps. Or perhaps you will find that victory, even unexpected victory, has its own rewards." The secure channel closed, leaving Lara alone with her thoughts for several minutes before Captain Harris approached. "Well, Cadet, what's the plan?" "We're going to make this everyone's idea, Captain. The Admiral's yours, mine, and the Alliance High Command's. By the time all the reports are filed and all the debriefings are completed, this whole incident will look like a carefully planned joint training exercise." Harris studied her with something approaching amazement. "You realize you're essentially proposing to rewrite history?" "No, ma'am. I'm proposing to write it correctly the first time." The next 72 hours were a carefully choreographed dance of diplomacy engineering and creative report writing. Admiral Thrax proved to be a surprisingly cooperative partner in the deception, perhaps recognizing that a face-saving resolution serves Zoraxian interests better than a public acknowledgement of defeat at the hands of human cadets. The official logs would show that the USS Novice had responded to a distress call from the Zoraxian base after a cascading systems failure had compromised their automated defenses. Cadet Kincaid's technical expertise in electromagnetic pulse theory had been instrumental in stabilizing the base's reactor and restoring normal operations. As a gesture of gratitude, Admiral Thrax had provided the cadets with an unprecedented opportunity to study Zoraxian technology and tactical doctrine. The truth, of course, was considerably more complex. But truth, Lara was learning, was often less important than perception in the larger game of interstellar politics. "Cadet Kincaid," Admiral Thrax said during their final official meeting, "I have prepared a commendation for your actions during this crisis. It will naturally emphasize your technical contributions rather than your tactical innovations." "Thank you, Admiral. That's very generous." "It is also practical. A human cadet who can outthink Zoraxian officers is an asset to your alliance. A human cadet who can defeat Zoraxian military installations is a threat to the Empire. I prefer to acknowledge assets rather than create threats." Lara nodded her understanding. In the complex calculus of interstellar relations, perception often mattered more than reality. Admiral Thrax was offering her a way to claim victory without humiliating her defeated opponents, a lesson in diplomacy that no Academy textbook could have taught. When the USS Novice finally departed Zoraxian space, it carried with it 43 cadets who had received an education far more valuable than any classroom could provide. They had learned that courage and creativity could triumph over superior technology, that leadership sometimes meant making decisions with incomplete information, and that the most important victories were often the ones that allowed everyone involved to claim success. Captain Harris called Lara to her ready room as they entered the hyperspace transit home. The older woman looked tired, but pleased her expression, mixing pride with lingering concern. "Well, Cadet Kincaid, how do you feel about your performance on the final exam?" Lara considered the question seriously. "Honestly, Captain, I feel like I learned more in the last 3 days than in the previous 4 years of academy training. But I also feel like I barely understand how much I still don't know." Good answer. Overconfidence is the enemy of good judgment, and good judgment is what separates competent officers from dead ones. Harris moved to the viewport, watching the stars blur past in hyperspace. "You'll be receiving a commendation for your actions, along with an immediate promotion to acting ensign. Admiral Thrax's report was quite complimentary of your technical abilities and diplomatic skills." "Thank you, Captain." "Don't thank me yet. You'll also be receiving new orders upon graduation. The Alliance has decided that your particular combination of tactical innovation and diplomatic sensitivity makes you an ideal candidate for the Rapid Response Fleet." Lara felt her stomach drop. The Rapid Response Fleet was the Alliance's elite crisis management force, deployed to handle situations too sensitive for regular military units, but too dangerous for diplomatic corps. It was an honor and a death sentence rolled into one assignment. "I see my reputation precedes me," she said dryly. "Indeed. The Alliance has need of officers who can think outside conventional parameters. Your solution to the Zeraxian situation has attracted attention at the highest levels of command." As the USS Novice continued its journey home, Lara found herself reflecting on the events of the past few days. She had set out to pass a final exam, and instead had found herself commanding a military operation that could have triggered an interstellar war. The experience had tested every aspect of her training and revealed capabilities she hadn't known she possessed. More importantly, it had taught her that the line between student and leader was often thinner than anyone suspected. When circumstances demanded it, ordinary people could rise to extraordinary challenges, finding reserves of courage and creativity they never knew existed. The human cadet who had been told to surrender had instead captured an enemy base. But perhaps more significantly, she had captured something else, a glimpse of the leader she was capable of becoming. As Earth grew larger in the view screen, and their academy days came to an end, Lara Kincaid prepared to begin the next chapter of her story. The galaxy was vast and full of challenges that would test everything she had learned. But she was no longer the uncertain student who had pressed her palm against a viewport and worried about her future. She was acting ensign Lara Kincaid of the Alliance Rapid Response Fleet, and she was ready for whatever came next.